All right,
Can
recordings.
everybody see me? Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, all set?
Yep.
All right, your time starts now.
Hello, fifth graders. Today we're going to be learning the fundamentals of reading sheet music. I am Ms. Cook, and here we go. So, we've been working in the program Songmaker, which allows you to see the colors of the different notes, and we've been associating those colors with solfege. So, So you'll see here I have written a little melody here, and at the bottom you can see the shorthand for the solfege symbols. So if we sing the melody here, it goes do, ti, la, sol, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, sol, la, sol, do, re, ti, do. Let's try this step by step. Do, ti, la, sol, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, sol, la, sol, do, re, ti, do. Great! Amazing. I'm sure you did wonderfully. So, for those of you who I think reading sheet music is pretty unfamiliar with you guys. So, what do you think you already know about reading sheet music? Anybody got anything?
The notes tell us what rhythms we're supposed to sing.
Yes, good job. Uh, anybody else?
The little dots on the page tell us what pitch we're singing.
Yes. So that's what we're going to be covering today. So here's an example of some sheet music here. What do you notice about this sheet music that I put up on the screen? Are there any elements of it that might look familiar? How might we go in and decode this sheet music?
The half notes and quarter notes and eighth notes look familiar.
Ooh, good. When I'm looking at the page, I also see the numbers on the page and some of the lines that go in and out. Uh, Great job noticing the different rhythms there. So basically, here's a snippet of me playing the melody you see. For those who are wondering, that was filmed in 2019. So, the basics of reading sheet music. When we were looking at the sheet music on the previous slide, we saw that there were these lines that went across. that is called a staff, and a staff usually consists of 5 lines, and in between the 5 lines we see 4 spaces. And so the notes are placed on the staff to tell us the pitch and to tell us the timing of each of the notes. So always at the beginning of each staff there is a little symbol, is what we call a clef. And so the main 2 we use in music are treble, which is for higher pitches, and bass clef, which is for lower pitches. So to read the treble clef notes, the pitches that are on the lines of the treble clef are E, G, B, D, and F. And to remember this, when I was first learning how to read treble clef, I would use an acronym such as "Every good boy does fine." And then the spaces of the treble clef are spelling out the pitches F, A, C, and E, which spell out face. There's one way you can remember that. Now, moving on to bass clef, the lines on the bass clef read the pitches G, B, D, F, and A. And an acronym that I used when I was learning how to read bass clef is "Grizzly bears don't fear anything." And then the spaces of the bass clef read the pitches A, C, E, and G. And the acronym that I use to learn the spaces of bass clef goes "All cows eat grass." And people have different variations of acronyms that you can use. So now we're going to move on to rhythms, which we noted. Wait, go back. Go back. Nope, go back. There we go. So you'll notice here is kind of an open oval symbol. We call that a whole note. And so if we add a stem onto that whole note, we get what's called a half note, and a half note is half the length of the whole note. And if we keep that half note, but we just fill in the oval, that's what's called a quarter note. And a quarter note is half the length of the half note and a quarter of the length of the whole note. Is this making sense to everybody? Okay, cool. So if we keep that quarter note, but we add this little squiggly line here, that's called a flag, we get an eighth note. And so the eighth note is half the length of the quarter note, which is in turn an eighth of the length of the whole note. And so every time we add one of these flags, it divides the rhythm in half. So this is a 16th note, which gets 2 flags, and then a 32nd note gets 3 flags, etc., etc. And sometimes you can go crazy with this. And then a time signature is what immediately follows the clef. So the top number is the number of beats or pulses per measure, and a measure is basically a division of the staff. And so the bottom number refers to the type of note that gets the beat. So if you see this here and it says 4, 4, that means there are 4 beats in a measure, and the quarter note, or 1/4 of the whole note, gets the beat. Is this making sense to everybody? Okay. And so if we go back and we look at this melody that we saw in the beginning, we see this is how it looks in sheet music. And so we notice that there's a treble clef, that there's a 4/4 time signature, and there are quarter notes, which is the stem with the filled in.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. Time is up. All right. Thanks, Julie. Do the Zoom clap. All right, so let's go through the questions here. So what do you think went well in that short lesson? I'm going to time our debrief here. So go ahead, yeah.
I think I did really well in terms of trying to give as much of an explanation for the different elements in sheet music that a lot of us musicians actually take for granted. So I was trying to be very clear with how I described each of these musical elements, and I hope that that came across.
What would you work on for next time? So if you were to do this over again, what do you think you would change?
I think just having more time to actually do the lesson just helps in general because I felt like I was rushing through it a little bit. I've done a version of this where I had 15 minutes rather than
Mhm.
9, so that seemed to work a little bit better in terms of pacing, but I think
Mhm.
it turned out okay. And I
Mhm.
basically got through everything that I needed to cover.
Yeah, and consider this too. 9 minutes is about one third of a elementary music class, typically. Typically, it's about 30 minutes, and then you shave off about 3 to 5 minutes with transitions. When they're coming in the classroom, when they're coming out of the classroom, when you're putting instruments away, whatnot, technology stuff, that kind of thing. So, all right, we'll open it up to the floor. So, comments from everybody else. You can just unmute yourself and go for it. Yeah, Mason.
I just want to give Jilly some praise, because trying to teach something like just the like crazy fundamentals of music is so hard. It's like explaining why a language has is the way it is, and that's really hard. And to do that in 9 minutes is kind of crazy. But it was really cool to see how you used a lot of colors and stuff to highlight important things on the page, especially showing the notes on the staff. It was really easy for my eye to be drawn to what exactly you were talking about without getting distracted by the other elements on the page. So you did a really good job of kind of guiding our eyes.
All right, thanks, Mason. Anybody else? Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, I really liked how you tied the like boxes and colors to the music at the end. I thought that was a really good idea. Um, and I also liked how you just described the like notation for whole note versus half note versus quarter note and so on. Um, I will say that like it's a big topic to try and cover in any sort of time for like elementary students, especially because I remember like in my placement we spent an entire day just like doing like quarter notes. Um, so like I think this would be a perfect lesson to like start with, and then like do even smaller lessons of like focus points. But I was like very impressed by it. I wanted to teach something like this, and I was like, that's gonna take hours, and you did it in 9 minutes. So great job.
Thanks, Brandon. Anybody else? All right, good. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of piggyback off of what Brandon said. So consider maybe a less. Sometimes less is more, right? And you never know the reaction you're going to get from your students, right? So maybe start with the treble clef, and then maybe bass clef would be the second half, second third of the class or something like that. So just keep that in mind, and I would encourage you to ask a little bit more questions to students. Like I really like the color coded part of it. That's differentiation right there. We've had a couple students do that within these lesson peer teaching lessons, and I think that's really wonderful. Ask them questions about that. You could just put it up on the board, maybe give them a little intro, and then say, what do you think that color means? Let them answer for you. You don't even have to say much about it. So but good job reconnecting the melody and the graph and with the notes, that were color coded at the end. That's a really good thing to do is start with something and then sort of end with something in that way, and then it kind of comes full circle for the students. So, all right, thank you, Julie.